On Monday, you saw me get fitted for two new drivers, the CALLAWAY Ai SMOKE and the PING G430 MAX 10K. If you haven't seen that video yet, there's a link somewhere on the screen. In today's video, I'm going to do a deep dive into both drivers. We're going to talk tech, we're going to talk numbers, and we're going to talk about my opinion about the two drivers from a mid-handicap's perspective. Can either of these drivers help us get off the tee better? Let's get into it. The theme for this year's drivers by most manufacturers has been forgiveness. TaylorMade are on a quest for forgiveness, Ping, Callaway. The only manufacturer that doesn't seem to be that interested in forgiveness is Cobra. But Callaway and Ping have gone after forgiveness in two different ways, and the clues are in the name. The CALLAWAY Ai SMOKE is referring to their new driver face, an AI-inspired driver face that has created sweet spots all over the club face. Whereas the PING G430 MAX 10K is referring to MOI. MOI has been a discussion point for the last couple of years. MOI stands for moment of inertia, and it refers to the club's resistance to twisting on impact. And in 2024, it seems to be the first year that manufacturers have put a value to this term. TaylorMade's QI10, Ping's 10K Max driver. Those two names are referring to a magical figure of 10,000. How manufacturers have actually come up with this number, I have no idea. But 10,000 seems to be the highest that any manufacturer has got to. While TaylorMade are on a quest for 10,000, Ping claim to have reached it, which would make this year's Ping the most forgiving driver ever made. Now we'll get into the Ping's forgiveness later on in the video when I do a deeper dive into the data. But for now, hopefully that's provided a little bit of understanding about what these names are referring to. But have Callaway and Ping actually achieved what they set out to do with these tech improvements? I'm going to give you a little snippet into the data now so you can see exactly how both of these drivers have genuinely delivered on these promises. Let me start with the Callaway. So Callaway, as mentioned, have improved their driver face. Callaway wanted to produce multiple sweet spots across their driver face, and they used AI to do it. So their forgiveness quest wasn't necessarily about shape or hitting more fairways. It was about retaining ball speed no matter where you strike it on the face. And the figure that I've got here to prove that they've done this is standard deviation in ball speed. Now I'm a mid-handicapper, and I'll be honest with you, driving is probably the worst part of my game. I hit it all over the face. But in my testing, the standard deviation with the Callaway was 2.2. Now that means I can go 2 miles an hour above my average or 2 miles an hour underneath my average, which is good for the likes of me. And it is way better than my current Ping driver, the G425 LST, and it's better than the Ping G430 MAX 10K. Now Ping weren't necessarily trying to retain ball speed across the driver face. Their forgiveness has come from a different avenue, but Callaway have definitely improved their driver face. And I think the standard deviation I've achieved with my ball speed kind of proves that. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Ping were after improvements in MOI. The result of improving MOI is reducing the gear effect on the golf ball. Basically, if you hit it off the heel or off the toe, a driver with good MOI will twist less. And the less it twists, the less side spin you put on the golf ball. And the result of less side spin means a consistency in shape. And if you have consistency in shape, you're gonna hit more fairways. And I definitely saw this with the new Ping. Every single shot I hit with the Ping in my testing and on the golf course, I hit a fade every single time. There might have been 2 or 3 shots during my fitting that went straight or maybe a slight draw. But 95% of the shots that I hit with the new Ping all faded. And it was so easy to rely on it. Now that's not to say that you would hit a fade with this driver. I play with a fade, maybe a bit of a slice sometimes. But whatever shot shape you hit, you will hit it more consistently with this Ping. It was actually really impressive to see. I was hitting it closer to the toe at times and I was still managing to produce this fade. And I nearly shanked it a couple of times and it still just produced the same old fade. So fair play to Callaway and Ping. I think it's quite rare that manufacturers actually deliver on promises. Now looks, sound and feel are all subjective. All of us will have a different opinion. Some will prefer the looks of the Callaway and some would prefer the sound of the Ping. But for me, the best looking driver out of the two of these was the Callaway. The shiny carbon top, the cool sort of smoke effect on the bottom of the club, and the way it sat behind the ball, it just looked like it wanted to be hit. With the Ping, I wasn't a massive fan of how it looked. It looked pretty boring, I think, compared to the Callaway. The Callaway felt cool. But that could be because I'm so used to looking down at a Ping already and I fancy a bit of a change. I've never been a fan of the turbulators. If you've watched the fitting video, you know I got fitted into the Callaway Triple Diamond, and the size of the head did actually look a little bit smaller than the Ping. It's known that this year's Ping has a sort of wider footprint at address. They've shallowed the face down slightly and it just looks a little bit bigger. And you can definitely tell the difference between the two. The Ping gave me confidence standing over it because there was so much face to hit, but the Callaway gave me confidence in a different way. I just wanted to hit the Callaway. When it comes to sound and feel, with my current driver, the G425, I think it's well known how bad that driver sounds. Well, Ping made a conscious effort with the G430 to improve that sound, and that improvement in sound has been maintained in the new 10K driver. It's not to say that I think it's a good sound, but it is definitely a better sound. The Callaway definitely sounded the best out of the two new drivers. I think even most of you would agree with me on that one. See what I mean? When it comes to feel, this is a bit of an interesting one. We all know when you hit a driver out the middle, it feels incredible. And I got that feeling so many times from the Callaway, but I could definitely feel it when I hit the heel or the toe. Now with the Ping, the driver felt very similar all across the face. That could be down to the fact that it's twisting less, which is obviously a good thing, but it was difficult to feel when I hit it out the middle. So it was a bit of an anticlimax when I did, if that makes sense. So when it comes to sound and feel, I definitely preferred the Callaway. It's looking better, it's feeling better, and it's sounding better. But again, that's my opinion. Now, let's talk performance. That's what we're all here for, really. Now, after my fitting and some data collection, I took both drivers out onto the course. On Friday, I've got a full video of these drivers on the course, but to summarize, they're both incredible drivers. As you know, I've got the Ping G425 LST in the bag at the moment, and both the Callaway and the new Ping outperformed that driver easily. They were both more forgiving and they were both longer. And I think that's quite interesting with the Ping 10K. Ping seemed to have combined both the G425 MAX and the LST, forgiveness and distance, and actually improved in both of those areas. I think this 10K driver is going to be very, very popular this year. But as you'd expect, the Callaway Triple Diamond driver that I was fitted into was longer than the Ping 10K. But I was quite surprised about how much the Ping was keeping up with the Callaway. When it comes to forgiveness and actually hitting fairways, I have to give this to the Ping. I wasn't striking the Ping well at all. And I lost a little bit of confidence with it because I was striking it so badly. I didn't enjoy hitting it. But with all that said, it hit more fairways than the Callaway. And I was playing on a very, very windy day. There was 30 yards of hurt in the air. And when it came to playing into the wind, the Ping really performed. Let's dive into some numbers. So after my fitting, I stuck around to hit a few balls and do some data collection. And these are the results. Let's have a look at carry first. So my driver was carrying on average 250 yards. The new Ping 10K was carrying on average 255 yards. And the Callaway Triple Diamond was flying a whopping 268 yards. That's a massive amount of carry for me. Moving on into ball speed, my driver was getting 148 miles per hour. The 10K was getting 152 miles an hour. And the Triple Diamond was getting 155 miles an hour. Now I want to throw a little caveat in here. Like I've been saying throughout the video, I really wasn't hitting the Ping very well. I was striking it all over the face. So I think these numbers are a little bit unfair towards the Ping 10K. and my strike issues kind of show up in the spin numbers. So I was hitting my driver well, and the spin number was 2,135, exactly where you'd expect it to be. I was expecting the triple diamond spin to be a little bit lower than this, but 2,585. It's the sort of high end of optimum, and the 10K was spinning at 2,796. Now that number feels a little bit high for the Ping. In the fitting, I was getting figures closer to 2,600. And I think during my data collection, I wasn't hitting it well enough to justify these numbers. But I thought it would be interesting to show you these numbers because considering how badly I was hitting the 10K driver, it was still outperforming the G425 LST driver that I was hitting well. And this is a massive nod to the new Ping's forgiveness levels. On the FlightScope app, I can show you the grouping of these shots. On face value, looking at these groupings, you would just put the Callaway straight in your bag, wouldn't you? But as the tester, I know that the Ping 10K performed extremely well considering the man behind the club. And I was actually very surprised that I was able to keep it on a fairway, to be honest. It'd be interesting to do that test again when I'm swinging well, but we also have to be fair to the Callaway here. I was hitting that driver okay, and it was going a long way. And as you can see from the groupings, it's pretty forgiving with all things considered. 2024 is the year of forgiveness for drivers, and both of these drivers are very forgiving. In slightly different ways, yes, but the driver I've got in the bag is only a couple of years old, and I've really seen a leap in performance from that driver to these two new drivers. So Friday is going to be quite interesting to see which one I put in the bag. So that's the end of my review of the Callaway Ai Smoke and the Ping G430 MAX 10K. Both incredible drivers. And on Friday, I put them head to head on the golf course to see which one is going to go in my bag. I hit some incredible drives with both of them. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on that video on Friday. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you on Friday.